Hi friends, my name is Zeenath K J and I welcome you all to Love for English videos. In this video, we are going to talk about subject-verb agreement, one of the major topics of English grammar, which will certainly help us to reduce more than 60 to 70% of mistakes what we commit while speaking in English in our day-to-day conversation. So why wait? Let's get started. Before we could even talk about the rules of subject-verb agreement, we need to first of all understand what is a subject, what is verb, and what is the agreement all about. So, what exactly is subject for you? I'm sure you must be definitely trying to recollect what you must have learned during your primary school days or high school days when you were officially introduced to English grammar, in which you were systematically asked to study and learn subject-verb agreement. You must be even recollecting one of the famous sentences that is nothing else but Rama killed Ravana. Especially this sentence would have been taught to you during your school days when you learned active and passive voice for sure. All our lovely teachers told us saying, look at Rama. Rama is the person who is performing an action. What is the action? Kill. So Rama is our subject. Whatever you have learned with the help of this sentence is definitely not incorrect. At the same time, I should let you all know this is definitely incomplete. So what is the missing part of the entire story? The missing part is very, very beautiful. Remember, whatever you talk about in a sentence becomes your subject. I repeat, whatever you talk about in a sentence becomes your subject. So, when I say whatever, that whatever could be a person, that whatever could be a place, that whatever could be an animal or a bird, that whatever could be living or non-living, and that whatever could be singular or plural. Whatever you talk about in a sentence automatically becomes your subject. So let's take an example over here. Let's say there are many trees in the campus. Now ask a question to yourself, what are we talking about over here? It's very easy to answer, isn't it? We are definitely talking about trees. So as we are talking about trees, the word trees will become subject in the sentence. So this is what I'm talking about. Whatever you talk about in a sentence becomes your subject. Take up one more example over here. So what am I talking about in the sentence? Definitely I'm talking about Sheila, right? So as I am talking about Sheila, Sheila becomes my subject in the sentence. So coming back to the pavilion, the definition is very, very clear. Whatever you talk about in a sentence becomes your subject. Whatever you talk about, doesn't matter. Now let's understand, what does verb mean? I'm sure the moment we look at the word verb, one word actually comes to our mind, that is nothing else but action, right? The moment we hear the word verb, we automatically understand this with the help of different actions. For example, eat, sleep, study, sit, go, walk, etc. So, is this exactly the verb in subject-verb agreement? My answer is a big no-no. So, to understand this, let's understand the verb in detail. In verbs, there are actually three types. Which are they? Main verbs, second one, helping verbs, third one, modal verbs. What are main verbs? Whatever we call as action words, like the way I gave many examples just few seconds ago, actually are considered grammatically called as main verbs. For example, if I say escalate is a main verb, elevate is a main verb, excited is a main verb, run is a main verb. So whichever word speaks about an action of a person, automatically is called as a main verb, right? Unfortunately, my dear friends, usually when we talk about subject-verb agreement, in subject-verb agreement, 90% of time we'll not be talking about main verbs. We'll be actually talking about something else. So there is 10% terms and conditions apply over here. We'll talk about it in some time. I'll tell you at the right time when I have to talk about the same. So for time being, you need to understand, whenever we talk about verbs in subject-verb agreement, we'll be only talking about helping verbs. Now the question comes into mind, what do you mean by helping verbs? So let's understand this with an example. Let's say, if I say, Ramu is a very handsome boy. So as we have already understood what exactly is the meaning of subject, if I ask you, what are we talking about? Definitely you'll be able to identify. We are actually talking about Ramu. So Ramu logically is our subject because we are talking about Ramu, which is very, very important. Right? So now let's talk about A. A is an article which means one. Everybody knows. Very is an adjective which has a meaning. Handsome is another adjective which has a meaning. Boy is a noun. Right? So now look at this entire sentence over here. Every word in the entire sentence except is has a solid meaning. Right? If I ask you the question, what is the meaning of is in the entire sentence? Don't waste your time thinking, because there is no meaning to the word is. If that's the case, can we leave this word is and say, Ramu, very handsome. I, tall. You, beautiful. Can we speak like this? Definitely not, because it becomes butler English or broken English. We can actually come to a conclusion. The words what you can see here under the umbrella of helping verbs are the words without which you cannot complete a statement, without which you cannot actually make a sense in the sentence. Plus, most importantly, without these words, you can't even be talking about tenses for sure. You might be wondering now, what do subject-verb agreement and tenses have to do with each other? My answer is very, very simple. Imagine if I give you the sentence saying, I am a trainer. The second sentence, I was a trainer. Now look at these two sentences. If I ask you, the first sentence is of which tense? Without even thinking too much, you'll be definitely able to say this is present tense. This is actually a past tense sentence. Look at the entire sentence. I, common. A, common. Trainer, common. So, on what basis did we decide what is present tense and what is past tense? Logically, it's the words am and was. That's why I told you, without the helping verbs, you cannot even think of tenses for sure. These are the words which actually indicate us, which tell us which sentence is a present tense sentence, which sentence is a past tense sentence. That's the reason these verbs are very, very important. So, one thing what we have to keep it in our brains is, from now onwards, whenever I mention the word verb in subject-verb agreement, you should be always looking for these kind of words, not for the vocabulary, not for the main verbs. As I've already told you, 10% terms and conditions apply. We'll talk about it. Now let's talk about modal verbs. What do you mean by modal verbs? This is our favorite part when it comes to English language. Even today, we keep on running behind the question saying, what is the difference between can and could? What is the difference between may and might? What's the difference between will and would, etc. Right? So as our objective in this video is not to discuss modal verbs in detail, we are not getting into any kind of explanation over here for sure. However, one thing you can definitely keep it in your brains, modal verbs is one of the types of verbs for sure. As we have learned what is the subject, what is the verb, let's talk about what is an agreement all about. The agreement is very, very simple. In every sentence, there will be a subject and there will be a verb. So what does the agreement say? The agreement, the contract what we are talking about, actually is between the subject and the verb. It says when the subject is singular, the verb should be singular. When the subject is plural, the verb should be plural. So let's apply this into different sentences and check whether what we're talking about is making a lot of sense or making no sense at all. Look at the example over here. The first one, it says, my nephew is excited about his birthday. So let's recall what we discussed so far. What am I talking about in the entire sentence? I'm talking about my nephew, right? So my nephew becomes the subject. Let's ask another question. Nephew is singular or plural? Definitely singular, right? So what is the verb in the sentence? If you look at the entire sentence, the word excited is actually attracting us more. And some of you must be even coming up with the answer saying excited is actually the verb. Unfortunately, go back to what we learned. I clearly told you in subject to verb agreement, when we talk about verb, we will be talking about helping verb. So what is the helping verb here in the entire sentence? Is. So is our helping. Is singular or plural? Definitely it is singular. So what does the rule say? It says when the subject is singular, the verb should be singular. Are they matching with each other? Of course they are matching. Let's take up one more example over here. All my classmates were annoyed with the principal. So what are we talking about in the sentence? We are talking about classmates. Now, classmates is our subject. Classmates is singular or plural? Classmates, definitely it is plural. Let's mark that. What is the verb in the sentence? Is it were or annoyed? Definitely not annoyed, right? It's actually were, which is our helping verb. So where is the verb in the sentence? Where is plural or singular? Definitely it is plural. So what is the second part of the same story what we learned says? It says when the subject is plural, the verb should be plural. Now, is it the right agreement? Absolutely yes. This is going to be very important example. It says our entire family seems to be excited. It says our entire family seems to be excited. So what are we talking about? We're talking about family, right? Family is our subject. Family is singular or plural? Definitely it is singular because the plural form of family will be families, right? By any chance, if you have come up with the answer, family is plural, correct yourself. Family is singular, families is plural. Now, what is the verb in the entire sentence? Oops, did you notice something? In the entire sentence, there is no helping verb at all. Now, the question is, when there is no helping verb in the entire sentence, which word will be playing the role of verb? Because we know the basic, without a subject and a verb, there cannot be a sentence at all. Now comes the 10% exception what I was talking about when we were discussing verbs. Alright. So I told you that 90% it will be helping verbs when we talk about subject-verb agreement, which we consider as verbs in the same concept. But what about the 10% exception? Very simple. Remember, whenever you have a sentence in which there is no helping verb at all, automatically the main verb in the sentence becomes the verb. Look at the sentence. In the entire sentence, we don't see is or are or have or has, nothing, absolutely nothing. But after family, we have a word called seems. We actually have a word called seems, right? So seems is our verb in the sentence. Is it singular or plural? Definitely it is singular. Are they matching with each other? Yes. The agreement is absolutely perfect. So by any chance, if you're getting confused with all of a sudden, ma'am, you use the word seems. What is this all about? I'm not able to understand. Let me give you a little bit of background on what we are discussing over here. In English grammar, there is a beautiful concept called S theory. Okay. So what is this S theory all about? It says whenever you are talking about any action word. So right now I have taken examples: eat, sleep, enjoy and run. S theory tells us the moment we add the letter S to any action word, automatically it becomes singular. I repeat, the moment we add the letter S. So let's add and see whether what we are talking about is making sense or not. Add yes to eat, what does it become? Eats. Add yes to sleep, it becomes sleeps. Add yes to enjoy, it becomes enjoys. Add yes to run, it becomes runs. So look at the words right now. Every word what we have written actually has the letter yes at the end. So the moral of the story over here is any action word which has yes at the end will be considered as singular verbs. Now you can ask me another question saying, what about these words? What about eat, sleep, enjoy, run? Is it also singular? No. This will be called as plural verbs. If you keep an action word as it is, without any kind of postmortem, without any addition or deletion, it will be considered as plural verbs. The moment you add letter yes to any action word, automatically it will be considered as singular verbs. Let me make a very small table for all of you to understand what exactly we are talking about. Alright, look at this. If I say, I eat, you sleep, we enjoy, they run, AP actually stands for any plural. Teachers teach, children play, singers sing. Okay, so the moral of the story is very simple once again. Whenever the sentence starts with I, you, we, they, any plural. When I say any plural, whenever you're talking about anything more than one. So in other words, I'm trying to say when your subject is plural, automatically your verb also becomes plural. Very, very simple. You can't say I eats. You can't say you sleeps. You can't say we goes. Why? Because the sentence is starting with I, you, we, they. Right? Or maybe any plural subjects for that matter. Okay. Now let's say the sentence is starting with she, he, it, any, singular. Okay. Let's say it's going to sound like she eats, he sleeps, it happens. Look at this. This time I'm saying teacher teaches, child plays, singer sings. So once again, it is the same theory what we are talking about. When your subject is singular, automatically your verb will be singular. When your subject is plural, automatically your verb will be plural. It's the same thing what we are talking about. Remember, this will come into picture only when you have a sentence where there are no helping verbs, where main verbs are actually playing the role of a verb. Otherwise, this will not come into picture at all. So, at the end of the entire conclusion of what we have discussed so far, remember, the moment you add the letter yes to any action word, automatically it becomes singular. And this is why, my dear friends, look at the word seems in the sentence. Why did we consider the word seems as a singular word? Because, very, very simple, seem is the main verb. The moment you added yes to seem, it became seems, right? So, seem is plural, seems is singular. Same thing will be applicable to go, goes. Go is plural, goes is singular. Same thing will be applicable to come, comes. Come is plural, comes is singular, right? So, the moment you add the letter yes to any action word, it automatically becomes singular is the message what we need to receive from the entire discussion.